the same chat, right? That we have. There are a few more seats in the back. Is it working? Yeah. Perfect. Should we start? Yeah? Okay, we're going to get started. So hello and welcome to Hands-On AI Day. It's a pleasure. Today's program is designed to accelerate learning and exposure to AI perspectives, tools, demonstrations, and guidance, and to get your hands on AI. We hope to speed up the adoption of new technologies, data, and digital transformation as envisioned by the Secretary General. We're gathered to give everyone an opportunity to learn and grow with AI. The program has two parts. In this room, we'll have part one, speakers, a panel, and a demonstration. Then part two will be upstairs in the staff lobby immediately afterwards with live demonstrations by the project teams. The program over the next 2.5 hours, both online and in person, includes leaders, experts, and just regular staff who've taken on the challenge of using AI. The program is available also in a digital format if you point your phones to the QR code that is in the invitation, or it is posted around the building, and I think there's one right by the door as well. And I think it's on the screen. Just before we begin, a thank you very much to our speakers and our panelists for your time and your insights. To the team that put this event together, you are genius, thank you. And to our audience, both in the room and online, I understand there's a significant audience online. Thank you for your presence and your enthusiasm. The response has been striking and just shows how curious and keen to learn we are. So now, without further ado, let us begin. Our first speaker is Undersecretary General and Special Envoy for Digital and Emerging Technologies, Amandeep Singh Gill. Please, USG.
Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you, Bernardo, and thank you to OICT and the UN 2.0 team. I see Kirsten is here. It's been great to learn about this, to appreciate what is being done right now. And I'm truly blown away by your participation today. You know, we've had more than 2,000 registrations for this. That just underlines the interest that we have across the Secretariat, across the UN in this issue. The world is changing fast, and we must adapt. We must evolve alongside, so that we can better meet the goals that we've set internally, UN 2.0, but also the goals that member states have been setting for us and with us. And I'm thinking here of the Global Digital Compact, which has mandated us to support the governance of AI for all humanity, and which has led to some pioneering processes on setting up an international scientific panel on AI, a new policy dialogue on AI governance, and importantly, a report on capacity building on AI, which is, in a sense, the theme of today. And here we are talking about our own internal capacity. So what's our responsibility at the UN as this world changes fast? And our member states place new requirements, demands on us. They are also coping with this change nationally. So you might ask, I mean, this is something that techies and the private sector companies should be doing. But I submit to you that the public sector use of AI is one of the most powerful opportunities out there. So in recent weeks, just randomly, a few examples that I've come across, these are actual use cases of flash surveys that allow ministries to determine in real time what's the impact of certain changes to labor policies, for example. And you can immediately transpose that to our work at the UN. So the kind of last mile connect that generative AI tools which allow you to now simulate human-like interactions, whether it's to gather data in terms of, this example of flash surveys, or to reach out with information, so the push side and the pull side, both of those. So that opportunity is tremendous. And I'm not even talking here about the kind of even lower hanging fruit in terms of our day-to-day work, which is, how quickly can we synthesize the vast quantities of text that are thrown at us, sometimes 100-page reports, 300-page reports. Now, there is kind of an opportunity there as well. But I want to also speak about the concomitant responsibility, because member states will be looking at us in some ways, how is the UN adopting this? So we have to set a high bar, a standard for safe, secure, trustworthy, and impactful use of AI. So thinking about, the data that has been used to training an AI tool that we might be employing, thinking about the outcomes where, large language models hallucinate. This problem is being fixed, but in some ways it's structural. So there will be limits to how much fixing we can do. So have we done a kind of a human check on the output that is being presented to us? Are we thinking about maintaining human oversight over crucial decisions? So one is information push-pull, but then the decisions coming out of those tools, are we ensuring that they are a human being is responsible, is accountable for those information? And of course, as I'm sure Bernardo has been telling us, all of us, we have to be careful about security, cybersecurity, handling sensitive data. So this is heavily saturated with data-related issues on the training side, but also on the inference side. So we are not going to be passive recipients. We are going to be active. We are going to be engaging critically, but constructively, open mind, big hearts. And as AI evolves, we are not going to be late to the party. We're going to be early users. And many of us started, like at the Office of Digital and Emerging Technologies, we started in a fun way, pulling each other's leg, putting up AI-generated images on, in the team engine room. But then it moved to more serious stuff, synthesizing information, learning. And more recently, part of the team has been experimenting with vibe coding. You can literally build a whole software stack using AI tools today. So these are tremendous opportunities. One time they said about Facebook, this is about everyone having a web page on the net. Today it's about everyone being able to code. So the barriers to entry in terms of coding are coming down rapidly. So it's not only the LLM type knowledge management push and pull side, but it's also the deeper kind of capabilities. I want to end with a few points about culture. So this is not just about skills. We need a good culture. We need a learning mindset. And that is where UN 2.0 comes in, calls for a forward thinking culture alongside cutting edge skills. And we shouldn't see AI as a kind of distraction. It is very much part of our calling to deliver our mandates effectively, inclusively, and impactfully. And today's event, which I really commend OICT for taking the initiative, is part of this larger shift towards a culture of agility, curiosity, and responsible innovation across the UN system. So Christina mentioned these demos, so let's not be passive users, let's shape this. And I encourage all of you to explore the demos, ask questions, and imagine how these tools can amplify, improve your daily work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amandeep. It is my pleasure next to welcome Assistant Secretary General and our UN Chief Information Technology Officer, Bernardo Mariano Jr. Please, Bernardo.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Afternoon, evening, depending on where you are for the colleagues that are connected online. Today morning, I was in a meeting and I talked about rejuvenating the United Nations. In this room, I feel like we are rejuvenated because the average age here, I could guess, is somewhere around, what, 35, 40s? My average age that I normally engage with in many instances is like 50 above. So thank you, everyone, for being here. And this is really a good collaboration with the UN 2.0 team, Kristen, and OICT, to bring about what we need to change, to rejuvenate, but also to bring efficiencies using technologies to United Nations. So welcome to this UN AI Day, an event that embodies innovation, the spirit of discovery, and the collaboration that makes us all do better, deliver better services, and create new insights, and discover things that we wouldn't discover otherwise. In 2022, when ChatGPT came up, somewhere in November, it reminded me the late 90s when the search engine Google came, and we were all impressed with the results. There's a paradigm shift on how humans and technology relate to each other. It's no longer a little search that gives you all these links. It's a natural language interaction. And this is something that when in 2022 ChatGPT came about, my fear was that we would be too late. We would be too slow. We would stay too behind, and the technology would run away, and by the time we catch up, would be like the website catch up that we were very late, or even the social media catch up that we didn't catch up in time. But I'm very, very happy to see this collaboration, that brought us today here, that allow us to say, look, yes, we are not as advanced as many private companies, but we are not so behind either. So the demos that you'll see today will demonstrate exactly that. And both the UN 2.0 action plan and the UN's ICT strategy has incorporated that in those documents. But today we're not talking about documents, neither about governance. Kirsten reminded me, like, no, yes, governance is good, but let's do something. Let's deliver something. And this is what excites me today, to see that deliver something, use the technology, test it out, try it out. And if it doesn't work, let's conclude that very quickly and move on and try something else. And if it works, let's think on how we can scale that up to the enterprise level. Because my next worry after 2022, being worried about being late, is how are we going to choose the right tool to put the big investment to extract the best value for United Nations. That's now what I'm worried about. And today's demo, it's just an introduction of what is the potential, and any ideas, any help, and that you can provide in terms of to think through what it is that we should put all full investment to be the number one enterprise tool, in addition to Copilot that you already have. What is that we need to invest? What type of areas that we need to invest? What can bring value? For me, that's what now my focus is. And the cross-functional working group that that I chair, and that Anthony teams and team brings together a number of you to bring all your use case, is just an entry point to start to think about which one of those we will scale up. So I don't want to take too much time talking, but I just want to say thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for contributing to accelerate the process. thank you for helping the United Nations to not stay too behind in this race of generative AI. And thank you for, inspiring me and others that we can do better in spite of all the challenges that we have on the finance side and liquidity crisis, but to show that AI, and generative AI specifically, actually can bring and help bring these efficiencies that we all need, that everybody talks about. So thank you and enjoy the day.
Thank you so much, Bernardo. Before we turn to the panel discussion, which is next, just two quick notes. Today's schedule will not allow for Q&A. We're really sorry about that, but we encourage everybody to continue this conversation in the online communities that are set up for the UN 2.0 effort and OICT's communities. If you, again, I'll bring your attention to the QR codes where you can find links to the communities. We had a goal of signing up 500 people today, so please go sign up some in the communities to continue connecting and the dialogue. Second, just pointing out, there's also a link up there to the newly launched AI enablement portal announced yesterday on iSeek. It will have a recording of the demonstration that will be provided by Microsoft later, along with links to tools, the governance group that Bernardo mentioned, and the community. So please join the communities if you haven't already. So now getting to the panel. We have joining us Kirsten Yauer, Deputy Director for Strategic Planning and Monitoring in the Secretary General's Office, Branka Panic, Founding Director for AI for Peace and Non-Resident Fellow at NYU Center for International Cooperation, and Katerina Kwai, Innovation Lead at the UN Development Coordination Office, or CAT for short. We're really glad to join you. Maybe I'll ask each of you to make quick introductory opening remarks before we get to the dialogue. Could I ask you to go first, Kirsten?
Sure, happy to, and thanks to everyone who's joining here in person and the hundreds of colleagues online. I'll frame this very, very briefly. This day for me is really embodying the UN 2.0 spirit, and I'll talk a little bit about this. UN 2.0 is an ambition. It's an ambition that we can do better together. It's the cultural shift that Amandeep talked about, and it's the new skills that Bernardo talked about in data, digital, and innovation that can move our work forward. It's not just an ambition, it is also a top priority for the Secretary General. He spoke about it when he opened the GA this year, that UN 2.0 is our reform priority for this year, and that's also why it's part and parcel of the UN 80 effort. And it is also a member state ask. Member states have given us a resolution with the Pact for the Future, with the Global Digital Compact, that is asking us to lean into those opportunities. And so, therefore, not just theory, but also a pragmatic plan. 40+ UN organizations are shifting the way they're doing business, are making concrete UN 2.0 commitments. All of the leaders are committing to lean in. And first and foremost, this has to be a pragmatic switch. And I'm super happy that today we're flipping the Gen AI switch. And I want to thank all the teams that have worked so hard in the background to enable us to lean in. That's my ask to you. You can now lean in because we have a safe, secure AI solution that protects our data in the ways that we need it and that allows us to do more. So thanks to everyone for being here with a critical and open mind that Amandeep asked us all of us to have. So thank you.
Next, please. But I'm sorry, there are seats in the back, so please come and sit down. Please, Branka.
Christina, thanks for the invitation, and it's such a pleasure to be here. When I was invited, I was thinking, what possibly can I say on UN AI things with so many experts in the room who can actually share this, and we will hear later in the day more about this. So as an external person, I wanted just maybe to move a step back and try to bring more clarity what is happening in the ecosystem beyond the UN, right? And I was thinking about two important things that are really making this moment special. And I know you have been hearing this probably for the last 10 years. Like, this is the tipping point, but this is really the tipping point now. So what has been happening in the AI space, the research, the science has been tremendous in the previous 10 years. And now we see a shift, a very direct shift from that AI science to AI application. And this is the moment. And we see some of the countries and member states recognizing this as well. Earlier in the year, France hosted the AI Action Summit, making this clear and visible decision of, no, we will not continue this with the AI safety conversations, as it was the case with previous countries, and putting emphasis on action. We see that in a broader field as well. I don't know how many of you are following the Nobel Prizes. I'm coming from the peace and conflict field. I follow a lot of peace prizes, but something interesting happened in the Nobel space last year, that 2 awards in chemistry and physics were actually awarded for the AI work. And there is an expectation, let's see what the next year brings, that more and more of these awards will be awarded in different fields as well, because AI is this interdisciplinary enabler now. The second thing that is happening, and why I really want every single person from this room to leave this room with this notion that we are really being empowered in a different way now. And why this is the case? Because in the previous 10 years, all of the advancements in AI requested a really technical skills. That's why the UN as well and other institutions were completely obsessed with figuring out how to bring the talent on, right? How to attract the skills, the data scientists, the experts in the field, because they were the ones who were building the tools. And this is still a very important thing for those of you who are in the room. I see some of the faces. This will continue to be extremely important. But what is important for the rest of us, that now we are creating those tools as well. And this is this shift that is really empowering, and why I think this event, it's not an accident that it takes the name of hands-on AI, because each one of us now can do that and have hands-on experience and even have a hands-on building on AI. And I can easily say, I think somewhere this event was taking the name of generative AI as well. I think we could have easily named it agentic AI, or maybe the next year the topic will be hands-on AI, agentic AI, because we are already in that space of even jumping now from generative AI to new developments that are even, I would say, as somebody who had this hands-on experience, even more empowering, because each one of us can bring our field expertise now and combine it directly with the AI agents maybe, or some other technologies to really advance our work.
Okay, thank you, Branka. That is very enlightening. Kat, may I turn to you?
Hello. Oh.
Yeah, works.
It's working? Okay, cool. Hello. So I'm having a little bit of an imposter syndrome moment after all of these amazing statements. I woke up today and I'm on a panel with the ASGs and USGs. But I think I'm here to represent the voice of the regular staff and how we can get started wherever we're starting from. And my department, which is the UN Development Coordination Office, is not particularly out in front in terms of our baseline assessment under the UN 2.0 scorecard. We're not like foremost in this field or out in front of the pack, really. We're a bit average, I have to say, in terms of our starting points in UN 2.0 capacities. But what we did do is we got started early. 2 years ago, we tried to connect with other departments, and of course most of our staff are in the field, so connecting with the field and the region to really see who's already starting on this journey with generative AI. We were not particularly accelerated in terms of machine learning prior to this, or AI as a field, but the explosion in generative AI solutions has really been a game changer for us. And average staff members who don't particularly have a background or PhDs in AI started experimenting with it. So I think I'm here to share a bit of that journey over the last 2 years and how that can actually be an accelerant. Accelerated learning is what we need to practice at this point, part of this culture. Point that was raised early by ASG and USG. How do we build that culture of learning together? And that was really supportive for us, and really helped to put us in a place where we are today, and I'd like to share some of that with you. Thanks, Christina.
Okay, great. So thank you all very much. We'll get to some questions, get some conversation started. Maybe I'll open with one for all of you or any of you that want to volunteer. It's 2025. We are now in the critical decade of the SDGs, and we are certainly in a very specific time and place in UN history. How can generative AI help us close the gap with the SDGs? And what are the risks if we don't engage with AI? Anybody want to comment? Maybe Kirsten?
Happy to just give this a quick go. I think Amandeep already said a wonderful frame, and Bernardo and Branka helped us understand there's an incredible opportunity out there. The SDGs are our most important agenda. We're definitely not on track. Member states are not on track. About 17% of the goals only are on track. Kat knows a whole lot more about it. But the world is shifting. There is something new happening, and AI is a big part of that. This amplified intelligence that's out there, or if you will, that electrified intelligence. And I think for us now, the opportunity and the task is, as an organization, is to connect our grid, to connect our little city to that electrified intelligence that's out there, and bring the solutions that are now possible into our field work first and foremost, where we make a difference for 300 million people around the world every year. And the opportunities there are tremendous. If you just think, for example, of accelerating our supply chains around vaccines and optimizing them so that vaccines reach those who need them faster and earlier and in a more targeted way. Or, for example, making some of our policy work easier here in headquarters. So what we do to enable that impact. And to give you a very small example, in our team, we were also experimenting over the last few days now that we can all use Copilot officially and not just experimentally. And we connected Copilot to our policy portal and to the knowledge gateway that I hope many of you know, that thing that helps us ask, well, what is the HR solution? Can I move from this contract to that contract? Always getting 15 different answers if you're asking 15 different people. And connecting Copilot to those two knowledge resources literally took us 2 minutes. And I got answers that I had been waiting for, frankly, for years. In a second, I encourage all of you who have a license to go out and try that. And I hope the colleague from Microsoft might show something there. So point is, there's a whole new way of enabling our work, make it faster, and we need to translate that into real impact in the field.
Anyone else want to jump in on that? Otherwise, we can keep going. Kat, you want to? Branka, please.
Yeah, just a quick one. Again, outside, a little bit of outside perspective, and as well connecting the introductory speeches, which I completely agree that UN, it might seem sometimes that the UN is behind, but examples like these are really showing us, and I can tell as a voice from outside, that we are learning a lot from the UN experiences as well. And just to add to this conversation on SDGs, and I know that the situation is very, the moment is such that we need really to put all of the efforts now into the agenda. I'm just a little bit careful when there is so much expectation about AI, we saw many times that AI will not be a silver. AI will not solve the SDG agenda. It will not fill the gap. But there are things that can be done. And why I'm saying this, and I want to just mention this as a sort of an example, because what we usually do and what we have been doing in the last 10 years is asking for those who have the most experience in AI, usually the big tech companies, to help us on this path. And I recently listened to the UN Secretary General ministerial briefing towards the end of the year. The two top names in the AI were invited to share their thoughts on the sustaining peace and conflict agenda. They would call them, I will not name them, but they call them like a godfather and godmother of AI. And I was really surprised how little these two top experts knew about peace and conflict in the world. It was really shocking for me. And I really started asking myself and all of us how much we need to do to actually update them as well about our agendas, including some of the things on the SDGs. And just a couple of days ago, Sam Altman, the director, the CEO of OpenAI, gave an interview for TED 2025, which was a fascinating interview. It really shows why this is such a crucial moment. But he got a very intriguing question from the moderator, which was, what is the future that you're imagining for your kids? And his answer was, I wish my kid to live in a future where he is not smarter than computers, where machines are much more smarter than him. And I respect that vision a lot, but I guarantee that none of you in the room would have such an answer, right? All of us who are in a way engaged with SDGs would say, I want zero hunger, I want no conflicts in the world, I want Planet, right? Happy, by the way, Planet Day, right? We want to tackle climate change. And this is why I think we are asking this question in a wrong direction, and we need to put those voices of people who know the true problems of SDGs, the true deep causes of problems we are tackling with, to actually answer this question, how can AI help? And this is why investing in their capacities, in demystifying this technology for them is crucial for making sure that we are actually filling this gap and even having this two-way conversation and collaboration in a more intense way.
I think it's such a good point that you're raising, Branka. I think it was Jack Dorsey that just recently said, the original owner of that, which will not be named, he said, let's be careful about also not training ourselves to just talk to the existing algorithms. It's actually, and to your point, Branka, we bring so much to the table. Our collective knowledge that's built up in the knowledge bases in the UN, in fact, are incredibly informative and show the complexities and sometimes the contradictions of really what it has taken to tackle the global challenges as expressed in SDGs and elsewhere. So let's not underestimate what we bring to the table when we engage with algorithms, right? And let's not train ourselves just to talk to the robot, I think. Maybe if I could continue. Yes, Kat, please.
I just couldn't resist weighing in on the SDG question. Just from our experience, where we're currently sort of exploring the use of AI tools is actually a little bit to this point, right? Like, how does AI enhance a human process, particularly generative AI, although it has some kind of very intimidating flaws, like this issue of hallucination that has already been mentioned. And if you've tried out the tool, you know what I'm talking about. It kind of makes up things to try to please you and kind of, perform to the test. Whatever you're trying to get out of it, it's like, oh, I can provide you with that, right? And that's really kind of tricky in our line of work, particularly with such high consequences, right? So, but what we've actually found now is that you can flip that and say that this is actually an advantage of generative AI, that among all the categories of machine tools in AI, that generative AI is very good at the creative task. And that actually we in the UN, like right now where we are with the SDG process in 2030, we need the best creative ideas. We need to be challenged. We need to think out of the box. Anything that is going to accelerate the SDGs from this point on is something we haven't tried before, right? So how do we find those solutions? How do we find those acceleration paths? How do we challenge our own thinking about development and what development has meant and what has been done with development over the last decades, and think about how technology can be a game changer there, and use the tool to help us challenge our own strategic planning, our programming, our assumptions. It's really good at giving you an additional critical perspective. And in terms of anticipating connections in this very complex world where we're asked to analyze and problematize and build solutions for, right? It's very hard for the human mind to wrap itself around the complexity of the challenges that the UN is asked to solve these days. And what the tool can do, in one sort of use case that we have for it, is can it help us with building scenarios? Can it help us with seeing the connections across different mandates, sectors, silos that we've put around our work in the UN? And make these kind of creative suggestions. Then we don't worry so much about hallucinations because it's only helping us to increase our creative capacity, right? And we don't have to, it's not literal, it's just stimulating further critical thinking on our part, which is what the world needs right now for solutions.
Excellent point. I think, the engineer in me always looks at hallucinations and thinks like, that's not a hallucination, that's an error. But actually what Kat is bringing up is that little bit of creativity that allows large language models to work in a little bit more complex ways, actually, as long as we understand it and are able to correct any error, literal error that is being generated, in fact, the creativity can really be used and leveraged for us for higher order purposes. I kind of think of it as like my 17-year-old son. He comes back with a little bit of error, but it's often amusing, creative, really interesting, and often really does challenge me. In different ways, let's just say. Maybe if I could turn to you, Branka, I'm going to skip around a little bit, but you have your eyes and ears in many organizations. What do you think the UN can learn from others? I mean, are there lessons that we can quickly adopt, or you already pulled on a few of them, especially in governments, private sector? I know you have your eyes and ears in think tanks. What can we leverage right now to kind of accelerate quickly?
Just to Kat quickly, I never actually thought about hallucinations in such a way. And just a quick note, it reminded me about the AlphaGo when the computer machine was playing with the best AlphaGo player in the world. The first move that actually brought the win was judged by humans as a mistake. Everybody were like, this move does not exist at all. This must be a mistake. And actually that move led to the winning of the best player in the world. So maybe we should leave a little bit of space for moves that look a little bit. I'm not for hallucinations at all, but there is a space to build on this and to create something better. And this is to connect to your question, Christina, as well, where we can learn from other sectors as well. And I think there is a huge expertise in academia. So many of these advancements, actually, before they were brought to private sector to be privatized, right, and bring some profit, were actually created in academia. So for me, academia is great. Please don't cut funding to academia, whoever has any decision-making power in this, because really such an amazing free thinking is happening out there. The thinking that is also bringing this super important dimension for the AI world on safety and security of these tools. And I have to say, for the previous, let's call them more traditional tools of machine learning, natural language processing, now with generative AI as well, we see tremendous amount of these trustworthy AI tools, ethical AI tools. UN has a huge role on this as well. Gabriela Ramos and her team that is advancing the entire ethical AI agenda. So those are some moments, I think, where the UN can potentially, and I know there are already a lot of cooperation on this. I work in the conflict prevention, so some of the tools that have been developed by academia and academics on predicting the probability of conflicts happening are now being even combined with new tools, as Kat mentioned, experimenting with this simulation. Okay, now when we predict that conflicts are happening, can we actually simulate scenarios of what to do next, what kind of policy actions we can implement, and what kind of consequences this can have. And now policymakers in you will say, but we have been doing this for the previous of our entire careers. What we can do now, again, as Kat mentioned, is doing this on scale. And I think humans have a capability to imagine something like 4 to 5 next possible steps that are coming in imagining scenarios. With potential use of AI agents, we can really build this in such an immense and still unexperienced domain. Absolutely.
Okay, that's some good lessons. Maybe I'll turn back to Kirsten. This year, maybe ground it back in time, is a period of change. We have the SG's vision of a UN 2.0 for an agile organization outfitted for the next 80 years to guide us. What do you think UN colleagues need to embrace to keep pace with the UN 2.0 in the coming period?
Right. This is a really important question. This is a super challenging time. Bernardo already mentioned. It's a time that calls on all of us to try and do things differently because we care about people and the planet, and we want to have an impact even in moments when resources are scarce and there's a lot of disruption around us. So anything that can help us move faster is a good thing. And what we're doing here with the Hands-on AI Day is really trying to connect more of us in this UN city to that new electrical grid that's out there and the energy that's out there. And there are 3 ideas that I want to leave with you on switches that you can flip to connect your city to the grid. Things that are small or large. So first one is this is for all colleagues, go out and experiment. Use that QR code, go to the AI enablement portal, and start with the free tools that we now have that enable you to work with our data and outside data in a safe way and try stuff. And in particular, if you're a manager, because that is what creates that learning culture. If you're out there and you experiment first. Little story here, when we got our Copilot license for our team, first thing that Ayaka, our director, and I did, she's like, hey, I want to build that bot to help me get answers on how to do foresight that we always wanted to build. Let's try and do that. And it took us 2 minutes to build it. So go out and experiment and encourage your manager to do it. Second thing is, and a number of us mentioned that accelerated learning. That is super important. Go out and apply your learning, starting again with the AI enablement portal, and just a few examples from what we're doing in our office, because we want to walk our own talk. So in the SG's office, we're using things, AI for things that are really very straightforward. For example, summarization. That is a #1 application. Thousands of pages of knowledge out there, condensing that. Go out, learn about it on LinkedIn Learning, and then try it out for yourself. Or extracting information. The other day we had 24 hours to extract 5,000 mandates from 2,000 pages of documentation. Would have been an impossible task. We managed because we applied what we had learned. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is, if you're a manager, your role is super important. Try to lean in and then flip a few more switches. On the training budgets, move money from A to B. When you have posts, think about how you can shift those and hire for new profiles that we now have. You can hire someone as an AI engineer. That's totally allowed now. Yep. And try and lean in there so that your team can do more. These are the 3 things that I'd like all of you to try out and do now that we have new guidance, new tools that we did not have just a few months ago.
Perfect. Thank you. Some very practical steps. And I think the prompt for the Copilot chat is right on the homepage of the AI portal. So test it today, please. Maybe turning back to Kat as we begin to wrap up. We've seen a push towards digital transformation in the field. In particular, you already started talking about what you've found so far, maybe in the global teams out on the ground in the countries. What are you seeing as sort of lessons that you've found so far? Any use cases at the country level? How can we move the needle in the field in particular?
Thanks so much. So as I said before, DCO, most of our staff are out there, in 130 plus country offices and regional offices. And I feel like, just tapping into this accelerated learning theme, one of the things that we did right from the beginning, I think, was to do our learning together as much as we could, to have that social reinforcement of learning. So this is very hard to do on your own. There's a lot of self-doubt if you don't have a background in digital or are tech phobic, which is a lot of people that I work with too. You have to kind of convince yourself that you can do this, right? And I think the first step maybe is just for everybody from wherever they're sitting in the UN system is to take a small bite, right? Especially maybe if it's your first encounter, give it a task where you can very quickly validate the response. So you're not maybe running an analysis on 2,000 pages of 500 different mandates, but you could take a 2-page document and say, like, give me some talking points based on this, and you can very quickly go back and check to see how accurate it is. Build your confidence in small steps, right? And this is how we message this to our colleagues who are far-flung in the world, who might not have great connectivity. Some of them don't have AI for different legal reasons. But wherever you can start, try doing something different with your everyday tasks. And that's how we got started. And now we're now trying to tackle more sophisticated use cases. And well, we were operating without that licenses initially. It was highly experimental. It was a bit the Wild West, but it really helped to have social reinforcement. And that is where the culture change comes from, to support each other in our experiments, to show within a department that there's a group of people who are supporting each other and pushing the boundaries. And like when we got started 2 years ago, right after GPT launched, right, we immediately reached out to the people that we knew, your team, Kirsten, and OICT, and just tried to connect with people who we knew were also very exploratory and not intimidated. And that's how we built the confidence to keep on building our experiments, from little things like summarization and talking points generation to now more sophisticated things like ideating around SDG acceleration in our programming and planning. You have to build your confidence in ways that, in chunks that you can manage, right? And in ways that you can easily verify to counterbalance some of the risks with working with a generative AI. And as much as possible, try to help each other. Try to find that other person in the office that has that mentality. And that was really what accelerated things, because we weren't ashamed of our mistakes. Mistakes were not bad or inefficient. That is how we built on learning layer after layer. And we were able to do it accelerated because many people were making different kinds of mistakes. Then we say, okay, that's a bucket of things that we need to design around or avoid or explore. And I think that's how we got to where we are today, starting in a very average place as a department within the Secretariat. I'll stop there, thanks.
Oh. Okay. Thank you. Super practical tips there, I think. And I heard that in a couple of different areas. Like the group learning is accelerated when you do it together. You learn faster because you see the variety of different ways that even people approach it. And I think, especially if we're asking the question, how can we accelerate? This is definitely a very practical thing. And Kirsten, you mentioned the training. I guess we're going to wrap up the panel and switch to the demo, but maybe one last question, which is like a key takeaway. In one sentence, please. What is your takeaway that you would want everybody connected online or here in the room? What would you want them to take away? Maybe I'll just go in order here. Branka, please.
Well, because we, of course, carefully prepared for this, I am picking my favorite quote that I want to share with all of you, is that future will not be something that we fear from or something that we hope for, but something that we plan for. So hands-on, let's plan for effective AI at the UN.
Okay. Kirsten?
I'd like to ask all of you to do 3 things. Try and upload a file to Copilot Chat, and we'll get a demo on that. Sign up on the AI enablement portal, sign up to the UN 2.0 communities, and if you're here in New York, please see us in the lobby and see what colleagues are building already today.
Thanks so much. So colleagues, I just want to reassure you, you are on the right path by showing up today. And you will know that you are on the right path when you actually enjoy what you're doing. When there's that sense of play, again, in our work, that sense of newness and freshness and reinvigoration, this is how we are regenerating what the working at the UN is about. And I think that's what makes our Accelerated Learning Lab successful, is that it's playful and it's really rewarding for colleagues. And I hope you get the chance to find your like-minded crowd as well. Thanks.
Okay, so we're in it together. We hold each other up. Now we get to the concrete, hands-on part of the program. You may be asking, how does this work? Can I try it right now? What are the rules? I'm pointing out again that Microsoft Copilot is available to all capacities in the Secretariat, and to that end, a demonstration will be kicked off by Ms. Nicole Talk from Microsoft to show us how Copilot works so we can get started. Over to you, Nicole.
Great, thank you for having me. First off, I just want to say thank you for having us, and I have to say everything I've heard here, I work with a lot of commercial customers. You're by no means behind. You're actually probably ahead of a lot of customers, big commercial customers, because you're really embracing AI and you're coming together to discuss it. So I think this is great. The other thing I wanted to point out was that we're going to show you a demo. My understanding is everybody has access to Copilot Chat, which is part of the first part of the demo. And we're going to take you through a full process, right? It's actually recorded so we can show you starting with Copilot Chat, moving into the more advanced Copilot version, and then into the agents. So the fact that you're already embracing agents is great to hear. And then the other thing is that I just reiterate everything that you said, really, go in there, learn from Copilot, learn from your community, get engaged, and that's how we've only had Copilot for, say, 2 years, and most of what I've learned is from just doing or from my colleagues around me. So keep that in mind. And then just to kind of give you a little context, Copilot, and you basically have said this, Copilot is your assistant. It's not going to read your mind. It's not going to do it for you. So you really have to understand what your goal is, what you're trying to achieve, right? What you want that output to be, where that data might lie, where multiple data might lie to get those answers. So when you design initially a prompt, those are the kinds of things that you think about or can think about. And as you get more comfortable with it, you're more quickly able to just rattle off a prompt very quickly and get a lot more information more quickly. The other thing is that Copilot will iterate with you, right? Or you can iterate with Copilot. You can ask it more questions. You can ask for more detail. You can say, I want that back. Can you write that in a softer tone or more clarity, or I don't like the last sentence, or can you get more data, right? It'll also suggest ways to iterate. So again, it's not just put in a prompt and then get one response back. It's a lot of going back and forth, and that's how you learn from it. And the last thing I'll leave you with is that, we've all, great at our jobs. This is a new muscle that you have to learn and train. And so it does take time, like you were saying, to continue to develop that muscle and then just keep using it. So I'm going to run the demo, but again, the first part of it is really focused on Copilot Chat, where you have that license and you can iterate with the web. The second part, which is the more advanced license, where you start to interact directly with the Office applications. And then the last part is where we talk about the agents, where you'll see an example of how you might use an agent in a certain scenario. Wait, can you hear it? Oh, hold on a second. Why isn't the sound? Uh-oh, hold on.
Always happen in tech
we
demos,
recorded it
in
on
every
purpose.
demo.
I think it's using probably two different screen, and that screen is the major screen. You just try to move your cursor over there.
What?
Yeah. And click there.
No, there's supposed to be sound. Hold on a second.
Are you sharing the sound in Teams?
I should be. Hold on.
I'm a new program manager at the UN. I care deeply about connecting the unconnected, but every day I have less resources and I'm buried in volumes of information and requests from everywhere. Can AI help? Let's take a look. So I start my day in Copilot, and right now you'll see on the top, I'm on the web tab. So everyone at the UN has access to this. You'll know your data is secured with enterprise data protection when you have this green checkbox on the top. And I want to start off with just doing some research around how is the connectivity across some of the regions that I care about. So previously to do this, I'd be opening up 20 different browser tabs and praying that my computer wouldn't crash. With Copilot, I can ask a simple question and it gives me the information with references as well. But I can come in here and ask it to, put these in a table because that makes it easier for me to read it. And now I'm, seeing how the digital connectivity is across the 3 regions I care about. I can ask it to plot these in a graph. And now Copilot goes ahead and tries to create a chart or graph for me. So it's writing Python code in the background. You don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is just go ahead and validate the information that has come about. So in this case, yeah, I can see that the mobile internet penetration, South Asia is doing pretty good, where Sub-Saharan Africa, yeah, there's a little bit of catching up to do as well. But now, I need to get started with work. So I'll move over to work. And what Copilot, if you have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, is it's able to look at all your team's emails, calendar, and come up with insights on the basis of that. So I'll come up in here and I'll write a query that, hey, look at my emails and Teams meetings from the last 2 weeks, and then create a category of where I'm spending my time. And for all of this, it's going ahead and it's coming up with insights. And most importantly, it's bringing references, individual emails or meetings that I was included in, right? So this is good insight, but maybe I want to go ahead and map these to the UN SDGs and include a table with action items as well. So now it's mapping out, where I've been spending my time to various UN Sustainable Development Goals. But more importantly, it's also coming up with some of the action items that I have based on the last 2 weeks. But what if I wanted to go ahead and figure out what I need to do today? Again, I could use Copilot to do that. But in this case, I have my email open, 7,900 emails, and I can come in here and just ask a simple question like, what are my top emails that I have an action on? And Copilot comes up and finds out these urgent emails. So let's take a look at that. There's an email in here where I've just been told that, okay, these are my open programs. I need to do some analysis around this and come up with my detailed spending plan. If I look at this Excel sheet, one of those Excel sheets, lots and lots of columns. I can see already that the data is missing some places. So later we'll see Copilot if it will be able to help me out in here as well. And then another email I see in here is urgent materials needed for another, high-level meeting. So these are a couple of things that I'll see if Copilot can help me out for these meetings as well. So let me look at one specific email that Copilot has come up with. This is where we've got a digital divides project that I'm helping out on. But now there's a new template that I've been given. And I've been told that, okay, you know what, you need to fill out this new template, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. I've already got a great project document that I filled out earlier on. This is my program, my need statement, my project description, my implementation pipeline. But what I've been asked to do is to map it all out into the new format. Now, historically, before Copilot, transferring information between these different document formats was, like translating a multilateral agreement into 193 different languages. But now what I can do is I'll go inside Copilot and I'll come in and say that I want you to fill out, and then / is my best friend. And, this is the project proposal template. So Copilot figured out what document I need to work on. And I'll say that with information from, and this is my previous proposal. And just like that, I'm going to ask Copilot, and Copilot will now take in the information from my earlier document and then come up with an insight or a new document that is taking things over with the different parts that I've been asked to fill out. Of course, it's going ahead and, it's getting my date, which is July, and wherever it can't find information, rather than guessing, it'll leave that as empty as well. So Copilot over there, just handling that, that paperwork so I can focus on the actual task. I'm going to keep. I'm a new program manager at the UN. Now, historically, before Copilot, transferring information between these different documents, taking things over with the, the different parts that I've been asked to fill out. Of course, it's going ahead and, it's getting my date, which is July, and wherever it can't find information, rather than guessing, it'll leave that as empty as well. So Copilot over there, just handling that, that paperwork so I can focus on the actual task. I'm going to keep this. And I'm also going to save, share this out with one of my colleagues who maybe tells me that, hey, can you help me create a PowerPoint on this? But before I do that, if you remember, I had that Excel sheet earlier on with the funding details. Okay, let's go back to that Excel sheet now. There's some insights I need to extract from this Excel sheet. And but already as I open up this Excel sheet, I know that there's columns missing in here. The data is never good. But let's see if Copilot can help out in here. So click on the Copilot tab in the ribbon. And I can ask it to give me some data insights, right? So I'll just click on that button to start coming up with some data insights for me. So, Copilot creates some, simple charts for me, but we give you now the ability to get deeper analysis using Python. So I'm going to do that. And in this case, it creates a new sheet where it starts to write Python code to create advanced analysis for you. So it's understanding my data, and then, it's starting to do some analysis, and then it's giving me some further prompts that, hey, I can perform exploratory data analysis to summarize the key statistics for you. But in this case, I want something simple. I'm going to say, hey, can you show me a bar chart of projects by country? So it starts to create a bar chart of projects by country, but you'll notice something in here as it's doing that. It's, there's Mexico, and, there's three different areas where Mexi, and Mexico are represented. So I can come in here and, just like I tell a human being, I can say that Mex and Mexi and Mexico are the same country. So now it's gone ahead and updated that, right? And it's combined those three projects together and done that update for me as well. And then to take things further, I can just come in here and say that, hey, show me a word cloud of the project names. And just like that, without writing any code, it's been able to create 2 insights for me. So next, now I've got a few insights, 2 different insights. I want to now include a summary for this project. So let me go back into Copilot. And I want to talk to you about agents, right? So when we are inside Copilot, by default, it reads through whatever we have access to. But there's a new capability on my right-hand side in here. You'll see lots and lots of different agents. And I want to have like a colleague or an expert who has read all the UN Sustainable Development Goal reports, right? So how can I do that? And I want him to write like an overview for me. So I can come in here and I can say that, hey, come in and create an agent. And I'll tell it that you are UN SDG expert. Now, Copilot is able to understand my context and start to come up with some common things I would do if I'm an agent that's specialized on the UN SDGs, right? So I can say that I like this name. It's giving me a name here. And then I'm just going to move over to the configure tab. It's come up with some instructions for me. But more importantly, what I wanted to do is I'm going to browse over to a shared folder where I've kept all the UN Sustainable Development Goal reports, right? So I've got all the SDG progress reports. I'm going to select these and just like that, and I'm going to come in here and click create. And now I've got an agent that is, that has read all the UN Sustainable Development Goal reports. So I can come in here and say that, hey, can you help me pitch the Digital Bridge project, bringing in insights from the UN SDG reports. So now it's coming up with the insights. It's telling me the relevant UN Sustainable Development Goal reports. And more importantly, it's also bringing in specific reports that it's reading and citing in here as well, like a few different reports. Finally, this is looking pretty good. I can come up in here and go to PowerPoint. And now I can start to create a new PowerPoint slide on the basis of the document that we have. So I'll say create a presentation, and then I'll say this is the Digital Divides project proposal, and hit next. It's coming up with a few different slides for me, about 20, and then I can come in here and click generate slides. And just like that, it's PowerPoint Copilot has gone ahead and created a slide deck for me. Now, turning a detailed report into an executive-ready presentation used to consume my entire afternoon. And now Copilot, not just creates the slides for me, it also keeps presentation notes based on the document for me as well. It's generated images. I can give it my own specific template, but it's a great starting point for what I need to present out today. So, the UN's mission has always been to solve humanity's most complex challenges. With tools like Copilot, we're not just working harder, we're working smarter and focusing our human intelligence on impact rather than administration. Thank you for watching.
So hopefully that was insightful and got you excited about the advantages of Copilot.
Thank you. So this is not the end. This is the beginning of our gallery walk upstairs, and it's the beginning of our journey going forward. For those here at headquarters, you're now invited to join us upstairs in the staff lobby where we have demonstrations, supplemented by one table dedicated to AI governance and enablement. And maybe Yujin, if I could ask you to raise your hand, she'll be at one table, practical next steps from OICT, and a special table on the regular user perspective on how to talk to AI, also called prompt engineering. So check those out, along with tables from everyone else. So please go try Copilot today. Experiment, play. As you heard from the panelists, don't be afraid. Fear's the mind killer. Feel confident you bring a lot to the table. Let's learn together. And like we said, we hold each other up. So let's move forward together with confidence. Thank you. It's a wrap.